Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. What an absolutely fantastic busy week most of us have had around the world. I know my inbox has been full with people telling me of exciting new ventures that they're up to, and just some people just sort of saying they're taking it a little bit easy. Whatever you've been doing in this amazing planet, I'm sure it's just right for you. So this week I'm going to kick the show off with the Simply Tarot card of the week. I want to warn you, it's not one of my favourite cards, and it's because a lot of times when I was in the classroom teaching my students, they used to always get a look of horror on their face when they saw this card. Oh, no, I don't want this one. Can't we get another one? Well, the answer is no. You have to go with what's being dealt to you or what you've pulled for the day, or in my case, what I've pulled for the week, because there's a reason behind why we choose a particular card, and everything can't always be happy, joy, and can't always be positive. But what we've got to remember, even out of what seems like a negative or a difficult situation comes a ray of sunshine. We can't have change without maybe a little bit of hard work to begin with. So the Simply Tarot card of the week this week is the Ten of Swords. Now, it is the card of death, but death not meaning death of person, or it can mean endings of a situation or a relationship. Now, in a strange sort of way, I see this as a very positive card, because to me this means we've come to the end of the road. We've come to the end of something that may have been pretty difficult, something we've been working on for a long time, something that was very taxing, something that took an almighty effort to bring it to a conclusion. So to see the death card here indicating the end of it, to me, is a positive situation. So don't look at this card in the future as a negative. Look at this as a positive, and pat yourself on the back and saying, a job well done. I've completed a really difficult, time-consuming task, whether that be something in life, whether it be, getting to the bottom of an emotional issue or a situation or a tricky situation in a relationship or a family dynamic. It means that we've had breakthroughs and we've finally got a solution at hand. So I want you to start to look at the Ten of Swords in a very, very different way, as a very positive, uplifting card, not a negative. So we have an awful lot to cover this week astrologically. Each week it seems to be getting busier on an astrological front. So let's dive straight into it. At the moment we have the sun sitting in Taurus, and it's been there for a little while now. The sun will still be in Taurus for another week or so. So we've got Uranus, the planet of the unusual and the unexpected, the planet that sort of comes along and sort of can stir everything up very, very quickly. It's like a bolt of lightning. So Uranus is currently holding hands or conjunct the sun in Taurus, and the sun is also conjunct or holding hands the moon's north node. So what does this all mean in layman's terms? So Uranus is coming along and he's saying, okay, if you're not happy with things, I can clear the garbage out of the way for you really, really quickly. But it may not necessarily be what you're looking for. So be very, very careful what you wish for at the moment, or what you send out to the universe, because Uranus is listening. And Uranus is happy to come along and remove what they see as the obstacles in your life. But sometimes those obstacles are only something we've said in the heat of the moment. So you need to be very careful, and it's a time for most Taurians, they need to be very careful how they're packaging and presenting themselves, because a number of people will just see this sort of dogmatic, determined, roughshod sort of side of them, where they're so passionate about what they're talking about. They seem like they're lecturing you or being dictatorial or dictating in what they're telling you, instead of being a little bit more compassionate and listening to what you've got to say. They're just sort of coming across with their way or no way. It's the only way forward is their way. Now, that can be a little bit of a problem if you're in the public eye and you happen to be a Taurus at the moment. I'd be watching my P's and Q's a little bit. And with the sun conjunct or holding hands the moon's north node. Now, the north node is what we're aspiring to, or particularly Taurians are aspiring to at the moment, is trying to show the way forward. Now, if you're coming across as very bossy and the only way is your way, then showing that as the way forward might turn a lot of people off, and particularly if you're in the public eye or you're in serious negotiations, whether they're governments or whether they're just high-level business meetings, or even just negotiations in your day-to-day life with family members or your boss or work colleagues or whatever the case may be. even, heading up the choir. Don't come across as if you're lecturing people. Come across in a way that you've got a position of authority, but you're also showing them and leading by example that this is the way we're going to move forward with the project. It doesn't have to be done in a bossy sort of way. If you can do that, then you can achieve so much more than if you come across with this big stick and saying it's my way or the highway. If you come across in a way that you're leading the people and showing them how to gain the very, very most out of their lives, then you will achieve great success this time. So it's entirely up to you how you handle the way that your energy is being perceived. Now, that's for Tauruses. It's not so much that is that important for the rest of us 11 signs, but really for Tauruses at the moment, they really do need to watch their P's and Q's. Now we move on to the fun part of the year. 3 times a year, the planet of communication, Mercury, goes retrograde, and everybody shudders and says, oh no, do we have to have another one? Well, yes, we do. It's part of Mercury's little dance around the universe. And Mercury has just started his trek retrograde as of less than 24 hours ago, so May 10th through to June 2. We are going to see Mercury retrograde. Now, Mercury is sitting in his own sign. He's back in his comfort zone of being in the sign of Gemini. So Mercury rules Gemini. So Mercury loves being here because Mercury loves to communicate and talk. So what's the difference when we see a Mercury retrograde? When we see Mercury retrograde, it means quite often people don't have their listening ears on. They say, yes, 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 I'm listening. They give you that lip service, but they're really not listening. They're listening to every 5th or 10th word, and then sort of, the bit that they get, they might not agree with, so then they get cranky and burr up and sort of start coming back at you, and you say, hang on a minute, that's not what I was talking about. Yes, it was. I heard you clearly, because they didn't have their listening ears on, and probably you haven't got yours on either, or not listening as intently as you could have. So you really need to make sure between those dates that if you've got to have a serious conversation with somebody, that you're very clear, you're very concise. Stop and ask them, do they understand what you're talking about if it's a very important issue? Make sure that they fully understand, that it's very clear, that you're not putting emotion into it if you can help it, that you're trying to get your message across in a very clear, concise manner. This is not the time to go and ask for the pay rise from the boss, because you'll probably go in there and get all tongue-tied, or things will come out the wrong way, or he or she won't be listening, and you end up in a not-so-good position. If you can avoid signing contracts, going into any major business deals during that period of time, it would be advised. I know that there's many times when you can't put things off just because there's a Mercury retrograde. What I suggest in those situations, if you're signing legal documents or legal papers, something that's going to, financially involve money or can make major changes in your life, make sure that you ask for a little bit of time to make sure that you read the document properly. My suggestion is take it away, read it out aloud. If you read it out aloud, you tend to pick up if there's any mistakes. Make sure that all the facts and figures are where they should be. This is the time when people can make a typo, can make an error, and it's not intentional. It just happens to be because they're not as focused as what they should be. On the positive sides of Mercury retrogrades, it's a time when we can get some great, brilliant ideas, things because we are sort of a little bit disorientated in our thinking, that we're not necessarily as focused as we normally are. We allow the opportunity then for some of these brilliant light bulb moments to happen, that, the mind wanders, we daydream a little bit more, whatever the case may be, and in comes these new, brilliant, exciting, different ideas that when the hell did that come from? Oh, thanks, Mercury. So it can be an exciting time. So it wouldn't be the time that I would like to be a politician out selling a message at the moment, because it's a time when the world really isn't listening to you. They really couldn't care less at what you've got to say. And most of the time they're probably tuning out or only picking up one word, the word that might make them happy or the one that makes them angry. So be a little bit careful. It's probably not the best time for the Russians and Ukraine to sort of go into some sort of peace talks, because nobody will be really listening to the other side. But we can always, always have positive thought patterns there and hope for a very fast resolution when it comes to the war in Ukraine. Politicians around the world, no matter what their star sign, are trying to get their messages across at the moment, and they all seem to be trying to tell us that because of all the way that things are panning out with inflation and monetary issues around the world, that this is for our own good. Now, this comes back to the emphasis of the planets that I spoke about earlier being in Taurus, where the powers that be are trying to tell us that they're doing everything physically responsible to sort of bring budgets back into control. And we've just got to learn to live with inflation at the moment because we've had pandemics and we've had this and we've had that. Look, I know a lot of people say, yes, 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 that's excuses. Well, maybe it is, but maybe it really isn't. Maybe they are telling the truth in some degree, that this is going to take a little bit of time before we get things back to where we're all comfortable as a globe. So, you know, with such an emphasis of things sitting in Taurus at the moment, it is about looking after what's personally ours, and that includes our personal finances. So if each and every one of us start to become a little bit more responsible for our own personal finances, yes, we've got to live within the environments that in the countries and the areas that we live in, but we too can be responsible for maybe looking at our own budgeting, maybe looking at our own spending habits and asking ourselves, is there something little that we can do that can help contribute to the bigger picture for our community, our nation, our country, our part of the world, by just making a slight change in our own spending or our own habits, or not expecting too much. Or I know here in Australia we've had weather event after weather event after weather event, and we're in the middle of another one here on the Gold Coast, that, you know, food prices are going through the roof through nobody's fault. It's just weather. That, you know, we've had so much rain and flooding and things like that, the crops haven't grown, and, you know, things are going through the roof. So it's, you know, it's a matter of I'm using that as an example of adjusting your lifestyle. You know, if you're used to eating tomatoes and zucchinis and all of a sudden they're out of your price bracket, or you think they're too dear, then don't buy them. You know, adjust your cooking, adjust your recipes to use other vegetables, things that are available, that are within your budget. So we can all do our little bit. We also have Jupiter in the last hours of being in Pisces, and hasn't it been fun having Jupiter in Pisces? We've seen the expansion and opportunity of a lot more creativity around the world. We see people have sort of got themselves into jobs and made changes that has brought a lot more joy into their lives. Now, Jupiter will be moving into Aries, and that's a good thing, I suppose, for the Aries people. They'll be excited about it because it's going to expand their lives right out. We'll talk a little bit more about that next week. This week, the emphasis in Aries is Venus is conjunct Chiron, the planet of the wounded healer. Now, Venus is the planet of love and affection and the things that we love to do in our lives. Chiron is the wounded healer, which is where it's asking us to heal ourselves, not just from this lifetime, but maybe things that we've brought into this lifetime from past lives. So it's asking Aries, particularly, to really look at themselves. What are they responsible for? What can they do to make changes in their life? What are the things that bring them joy and pleasure? And really sort of bring that to the forefront. Don't sit there and blame other people. If your life's not going the way that you want it, or you're not getting the healing or bringing your body into balance the way that you should, then don't sit there and blame anyone else. The onus is on you. So it's a time for you to really sort of dig deep and ask yourself, what can I do to make improvements in my life that will bring about change? We have Mars, the planet of action, is conjunct or holding hands Neptune in Pisces. So we've still got the war going on. I don't think that we know the full extent of what is truly happening in Ukraine. Yes, I know we get a minute-by-minute update as far as, you know, live pictures and live footage from the war zone, but do we really know what's going on behind the scenes? I don't think we do. There's so many conflicting messages that come out from, you know, Russia's doing this, Russia's doing that, Putin's not well, this is not happening. You know, we've got a ceasefire so we can get people out, and then the next thing you know, there's people in terrible danger. So I think everything is moving so quickly that people are only giving us the information that they think is going to make headlines, the things that they think is going to get the world's attention, instead of truly what may be happening. So we need to keep a close eye on that. Let's all pray for a very, very fast resolution so the people of Ukraine can get back and rebuild their lives and get back to some sort of sanity and some sort of normality where they can reunite families and start to rebuild their communities. We still have Saturn in Aquarius, so we're still hoping for a little bit of a breakthrough in some sort of strange way, that somebody might get some sense and find a solution to this mess in Ukraine really quickly. We've still got Pluto and Capricorn, still sort of asking the world to really look at climate change. And I know that the world is not really taking it as seriously as what they should do, but let's hope something positive will come out of that. We're going to talk with Christy in Sierra Vista in Arizona. Are you there, Christy?
Yes, hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Christy. Do you have a question I can answer for you, sweetie?
I have a million questions, so I'll just go with if you could just tell me what stands out. Do I need? Is there anything I need to know this current time to focus on or to be aware of?
Okay, Christy, the first thing that they were showing me was that I was getting really excited for you. So I can only take from that sort of wall of energy that they shared with me as I first introduced myself to you, is that there must be some exciting new opportunities coming your way. Now, you might say to me, well, I haven't really felt those yet, Amanda, and that's okay. But I feel that this last 12 months, you've been really working on yourself. You've been really working on sorting out things, closing things off, finishing off projects, finishing off things that have been lingering for a while. And it's like, now that I've cleared the decks of just about everything that I could possibly do, I'm ready to open the doors to new opportunities, to new things. But during this period of this sort of sorting out of, particularly in the last 12 months, well, I mean, we could probably take it a bit longer than that, but I feel that you learned a lot about who you were and what you wanted out of life. And it was sort of, there were some things there that you probably weren't that excited about, and other things that you sort of thought, well, why have I been friends with that person all these years? When I really sit down and look at the relationship, the connection, it's been one-sided. I've been the one doing all the giving and they've been doing all the taking. So those sort of realizations were a little bit difficult to swallow and to sort of make a decision at which way you were going to handle them. But I'm pleased to say whatever decisions, whatever choices you made were the right ones at the right time for the right situation, because it's putting you in this position of choice now where there's going to be, as I said, exciting new things coming towards you. It's a time of great hope, of great optimism. They're not showing me any one particular thing that stands out that, you know, whether it's a move of residence or a new job or a new relationship, they're not showing it to me in specifics like that. What they're just sort of saying to me is that it's like the world's an open book for you at the moment. Be very careful what you wish for, because you may just get it. So make sure if you're sending anything out to the universe that you want to bring or attract in your life, that it's very definite that this is truly what you want. And it's so nice to see somebody that on every level seems to be at peace with themselves. That doesn't happen very often, Christy. Do you feel that at the moment? Do you feel at peace with yourself?
I do feel at peace. At the same time, I feel like there is anything could happen because everything's open right now, you know.
Yes.
As far as relationships, living arrangements, you know. It does feel a little freeing, you know, real peaceful.
Oh, I can understand that, you know, even though everything's, you know, open and free, it can still be a little bit daunting too, because you haven't got anything definite there to say, okay, I've got to make a decision on this. It's sort of like, you know, it's like being a teenager with the world at your feet and saying, I've got endless possibilities. I don't know what to choose. But, you know, you're not a teenager, right. You're a grown-up. And that makes us, I think, a little bit more cautious. I think the older we get, I think the more cautious we get. And probably rightly so.
For sure.
We're supposed to have a bit of wisdom by then. But, you know, sometimes I think that wisdom can sometimes block us a little bit, Christy, if you know what I mean. Like we get a little bit too cautious, or maybe I shouldn't go there because of this or that.
Yes, for sure. A little too guarded.
Yeah, and I'm not saying completely let your guard down. What I'm suggesting is just try and just go with the flow every hour, every day as a new adventure. There certainly will be new love. I'm sort of seeing someone new coming into your life around August. But I just sort of feel as if whatever you're hoping to achieve is very, very possible. But I want to stress, let's make sure it's what you truly want. You know, it's
right.
good to have tidied everything up and to be in this position of choice. But we have to make sure we're not going to go back and sort of say, fill everything up we've tidied up with exactly the same as we've let go of. You know what I mean? We've been there, we've done that. You know, now we want a peaceful life. You know, we want a life that's exciting and fun, but we also want an element of peace there as well. You know, we don't want to attract toxic people again. I think you've had your fair share of toxic people and helping people get on their path. It's now your turn, if that makes sense, Christy.
Yes, that does totally make sense. Yes.
Well, that's wonderful. So I look forward to seeing your progress. Give me a call back when things start to happen, because I really want to sort of keep an eye on where you're going, Christy. You've got a really lovely energy and I wish you very well. We're going to speak with Leah now in Northampton in England in the UK. Are you there, Leah?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, Leah?
No, I don't have any questions. Just kind of want something overall.
Okay. All right. They're showing me endings, changes and transformations coming up around you, Leah. I'm also sort of seeing as if there's been bucket loads of tears that have been shed. Has there been a few tears that have been shed this year, sort of more than what you would consider normal? You know, I feel as if I'm not emotionally falling apart. I don't mean that, but I just feel as if, you know, I could burst into tears quite quickly where I'm not normally a crier.
Yes, yeah, there's been quite a lot of tears this year.
Yeah, but I think they're helpful tears, if I can put it that way, Leah. It's like we're releasing, we're cleansing, we're removing things out of your life, out of your soul that needed to be removed. So don't look at that as a negative. And these, you know, spontaneous bouts of tears aren't always going to be with you. So don't think all of a sudden you've changed from somebody that's super strong to this, you know, bucket of tears all the time. That's not what it's about. It's just one of those times where these need to be released and need to be released quickly. They're showing me the month of March, and I'm not going to say next March. I'm going to say something must have happened in March this year that was a turning point for you, and you don't need to share with the rest of the world. I think you know what I'm talking about. They're saying to me, whatever that was, we're almost ready to close that completely off. So it's like, oh, hallelujah. That part is now in the final hours that we can now sort of move forward. Is there a change of residence coming up, Leah?
Yes, I'm moving house soon, yeah.
Good, because that really feels quite exciting. Like it feels fresh, new, innovative, exciting. I feel like I can breathe again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's good. But with that is going to bring other changes behind it, not just, to me, that's sort of like the beginning point. The moment I put the key in the lock and open the door to the new place I'm living in, it's like I'm opening the key to my new life. It's like things are going to start to become sunshine instead of grey skies again. Again, I want to say it's time for you to put you first. You know, it's like you've been everything to everyone else. It's now your turn. And it's like you've struggled with that because you were brought up to believe you put others first and you should come at the back of the queue. And I want to reverse that. I want you at the front of the queue and everybody else falling behind you. And I know that won't be easy, but it's something we have to work on, because for you to achieve the very most of what you can out of this lifetime, your lesson is to learn to put yourself first, as hard as that might be. And it can be something as simple as, when I struggled with this many, many years ago, because I was like you, I always put everybody else first, an old lady taught me to buy myself a little gift, you know, whether it was once a week or once a month. And she said, even if it's something simple like a bottle of nail polish, you buy yourself a gift and you give it to yourself and you say, here you go, Leah, this is for you because you're a wonderful person. And then Leah says, oh, wow, thank you very much. That's what I've always wanted. And you're learning to receive. And she said, if you do that on a physical, it becomes more automatic that you do it unconsciously in your life. It doesn't mean that you stop giving to other people, but it means you put yourself first, which is most important, because if we look after you, then you can look after others. But if we don't look after Leah, how can we help anyone else?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it's been a difficult 18 months for you, even probably a bit longer, but I'm pleased to say we're out the other side, Leah. You've got a lot of exciting things to look forward to. And they keep showing me all these flowers. And I didn't feel that was necessarily people are going to physically come to the door with bunches and bunches of flowers. But I felt this was a message from the other side, from, passed over loved ones, and that saying to you, here's a bunch of flowers to brighten your day. Like they're showing you that there's better days ahead. It's like springtime's coming. We've got all these beautiful flowers. There's beautiful things to come your way. Was there a death that happened in the last 12 months that really shocked you?
Yeah, my nan passed away a week or so ago.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were showing me that there was this very sudden loss and that you were still struggling with that.
Yeah. Yes, we lost her literally in the last probably week and a half ago.
I'm sorry to hear that. But it's okay. I mean, we don't have to miraculously get out of bed today and say everything's okay either, like allow yourself that time to grieve. And I think that's probably why they were showing me all these bunches of flowers, was that was your relative from the other side trying to brighten your day a little bit and tell you everything's okay, like they're looking after that person for you, that, unfortunately it was their time. But you are going into much, much brighter days, Leah. And, going into this new place, I can't emphasise enough, the change of residence will be like opening the door to a brand new life, and that's what's needed. It's like I can shut the door on the sadness and the losses and the everything else, and I can move forward into the sunshine again, which is really, really important. But know that the person that you lost is okay, that everything's all right, and there's certainly lots and lots of people on the other side taking care of them for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're very, very welcome. So that's where we're going to leave Leah now. It's been an interesting year because a lot of people have had lots of changes and lots of losses and lots of things to contend with, and it hasn't been an easy couple of years. I know here in Australia they keep telling us the pandemic's over, and yet at the same time the loss of life is going up daily. And we've had more losses of life in the last few months than we had for the previous 2 years of the pandemic. So wherever you are in this world of ours, just try and remain strong, try and remain vigilant, keep yourself as well as you possibly can, and give a little thought to those people that are still struggling, that are still going through the massive changes that have been brought about in the last couple of years. This week I've decided to sort of share with you a song that's pretty old. And it's something that a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, I remember that song. Oh, that was a long time ago. It's Mary Hopkins, and Those Were the Days. So let's hope that those were better days, and maybe we've got some better days to look forward to. Until next week, bye for now.